Good morning, everyone, and sadly, welcome to the breaking story of today. Basically, we went on TikTok this morning, and uh, some troubling news is happening at Penn State University in Pennsylvania of the United States. And before this, Penn State University has uh, brought on speakers to come on their campus and talk to their students, including the incredible Dr. Rachel Levine, who is a magnificent woman, a trans activist, um, and just overall great person that has helped our community for many, many years. Um, then we also have this news yesterday where it broke, where basically Penn State University. I'm just gonna get to it for us. Penn State University is hosting an event literally called "Pray the Gay Away," hosted by a man named Milo Yiannopoulos. Um, Milo claims to be an ex-gay person who went through conversion therapy and is no longer gay. But you should probably know that no one has gone through conversion therapy and it actually worked. No one has turned straight after conversion therapy. It never happened. So conversion therapy has never worked. The only thing it leads to is a greater risk of suicide for young children out there. So the only thing, scientifically speaking, it has worked on is that it has never actually turned anyone straight or to be ex-gay. No one is anything such as ex-gay. Ex-gay is a movement that basically just mocks the LGBTQ community and pushes kids to suicide. So Milo is speaking at this event called "Pray the Gay Away" on the Penn State University campus. Milo speaks regularly against LGBTQ people. He's a supporter of conversion therapy, which is nicknamed of suicide therapy because of how many kids commit suicide after undergoing conversion therapy. And it's a conversion therapy is something we've already covered on our show quite a few times in documentaries like Stealing Souls documentary, where you get to see people actually go through this and how horrible of torture it actually is. A lot of people actually call it torture therapy for this reason. Many states across the country are proposing bills to ban conversion therapy for this reason of how like torture it is. When you go through conversion therapy, they make you take drugs to vomit at the sight of a same-sex person undressing. They make you watch straight pornography, and they make you masturbate to it. They make you go through lobotomies and electrotherapy, where they electrocute you. They literally tie electrodes to your genitals and electrocute you for even looking at the genitals of a same-sex partner. So it is absolute torture, which is why many people who undergo this have committed suicide. So far in America, 700,000 Americans have gone through this, and that's just in America alone. That's just one country. But it's all in the name of religion, which is why it's hard to stop conversion therapy. This is torture. Let's make it blatantly obvious that this is torture, and this is what Penn State University is having an entire seminar on called "Pray the Gay Away," as if it's possible to pray the gay away. They're endorsing two things here. They're endorsing that, first off, it's a sin to be gay, which it is not, because you need to pray it away. And then they're also endorsing the idea that you can choose not to be gay anymore if you wanted to, which is impossible. That is not possible at all. At all, Penn State. Then Milo is also regularly condemning and shaming Islam, feminism, and social justice, because why would we want women to feel like they're equals, and why would we want social justice of African Americans feeling like they have equal say in America? Why would we want any of this? So then Milo was also the head of Breitbart News, which Breitbart News was an organization, still is an organization that regularly lies to their audience. They do not care about facts at all. They're a conservative think tank that just puts out articles. They do not care about facts at all. They regularly get caught by every major organization out there, right and left, for lying. And they just don't care. And they're all about trying to get the clicks, and they don't care what they have to do to get those clicks. So he was the head of Breitbart News until 2017, when he appeared, when Breitbart fired him because he seemed to endorse pedophilia as well, which was really off. Like, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, endorsing pedophilia is wrong, you know? And Milo, of course, who was the head of Breitbart News, in their articles seemed to endorse pedophilia, which is why he was fired in 2017 from Breitbart. And imagine how bad of a person you have to be fired from an organization called Breitbart News. I mean, for as bad as an organization as they are, you get fired from them, you're probably not a good person. But Penn State University is welcoming Milo, this guy, to their campus to talk about Pray the Gay Away. The event will apparently take place on November 3rd, and it is hosted by a campus group called Uncensored America. This is a campus group that welcomed Milo onto their campus, but an important note here, they are using a campus building on the main campus in University Park for Penn State. So Penn State is allowing them to have a building to host this event. So basically, if this event was happening off campus, there's nothing Penn State could do. And it would look like this Uncensored America is the group endorsing this guy. But the fact that this event is being hosted on a campus building, in a campus building on November 3rd, it means they're endorsing this event. They're allowing this event to happen. And weird part is here, and the truly terrifying part is that the university came out with a statement saying that they don't condone Milo, right? But yet they're allowing Milo to be on their campus, and they put up signs throughout the entire building. So let me just show you one of their signs really quick here of what they are literally posting all around campus right now, as of yesterday when they announced this event, apparently. Where did I have it saved? Sorry, guys. Let me get to it. All right. So this is this is their signage at their event, all around campus. They're putting up signs: "Pray the Gay Away," a scan for tickets right here. Milo, 8 p.m. November 3rd, and a big picture of Milo. This is the guy that seems to endorse pedophilia, and the guy who calls himself ex-gay and is supporter of conversion therapy. They're having this sign literally right underneath an LGBTQ History Month sign, all across their campus. They're putting these two signs right next to each other, as if it's like, hey, if you're interested in being LGBTQ, come to this event. It's literally, as much as possibly can, they're trying to put these two messages together. As much as they can, they're trying to endorse this event. Now, Penn State University has said that they do not endorse this guy, but they're also allowing him on their campus, putting his signage and actually their own signage, because this is their sign. This is their design of Pray the Gay Away, by the way. So they put these signs all across campus, and it's like, all right, but you're not endorsing this guy or his words. Okay, sure. That's complete legal horse crap. So then they also, the fun part about this story is the fact that when you actually try to, let's say, protest this event, at the same time of coming out with the announcement that they're going to be hosting this event, at the same time they came out and said, here's where the event's going to take place, and we're going to be having this event on November 3rd. They also came out with a statement of, we don't condone this, we don't condone Milo. Okay, you don't condone him, but you're also announcing him like crazy and hosting him on your campus, which is kind of weird. They're doing that for legal reasons, by the way, just in case some student at their campus kills themselves over this situation. They want to have legal precedent to say, you know what, we came out with a statement saying that we didn't endorse this guy. It's literally for the courtroom later. They're putting out this tiny little statement as a footnote of, we don't endorse this Milo guy, but we're certainly going to host him, right? He has been barred. This Milo guy has been barred from almost every college campus across the country for this reason, because he's just not a good guy in general. And riots have been known to happen at many campuses that he's been at. It's not good for a university to have this guy. Let alone the fact that most people, when they can't come out of the closet in their home life, in high school or before that, most people do come out in college, or they at least start questioning their gender and sexuality in college. So it's kind of terrifying that a university would host an event like this, knowing that many people in their college are starting to question these things because they weren't allowed to question them before when they lived with their parents at home. So that's kind of terrifying on its own, let alone the fact that the university is saying that they aren't going to cancel this event because this event is, quote, free speech, that Milo is just practicing his free speech. Well, yeah, he's allowed to practice his free speech on his own platforms. The fact that you're hosting him at your university to speak to your students and advertising him like as if he was a legitimate person, then that's completely different than free speech. That's an endorsement of everything he says on that stage. When you advertise an event on a campus or anywhere else, you are endorsing that entire event, every word that person says. Just like when someone brings my show into their high school or their college or wherever, they are endorsing everything I say on stage. But you know what? I have a message of love. I have a message of acceptance to all, to say, you know what, being LGBTQ is completely valid, and you know what, you don't have to change that part of you. You don't have to change that at all because you're perfect just the way you are. That's the endorsement that colleges, high schools, middle schools, that's the endorsement that organizations and pride events all give me for my speeches, my shows, right? And don't construe this fact that all of a sudden you have this event at your campus with all these advertisements up and somehow you're not endorsing the words that Milo says. All of a sudden it's this one specific speaker that you're going to advertise and endorse in every other way, but the words he says on stage, well, literally he's a speaker. That's what he does. He talks on stage. So you're endorsing the show itself and you're endorsing every word, Penn State. Don't get that wrong. And for goodness sake, for legal purposes, if a child does commit suicide over this whole situation, you are fully responsible, and we hold you fully responsible for that. It's gross negligence on your part, and it's just it's appalling that you would even try to endorse this guy. But you're saying that you're calling the event and the action of this event freedom of speech. Okay, all right. However you want to word it, that's fine. But you're also telling, after they announced this entire event, local LGBTQ groups across the state, across the area, are posting flyers and organizing protests for the event itself. So they're trying to get people to come out and protest the event outside of the building. They're trying to put posters around the campus to say, you know what, you are loved and you are accepted. No matter what Milo says, they're trying to post flyers that say, hey, here's this change.org petition that you can sign to cancel this event and hopefully get Milo to stop coming here. They're posting these flyers around campus, and Penn State staff are reportedly being told to squash and take down any signage or protest against the event. Which, by the way, protesting is also freedom of speech. By the way, putting up signage to say you don't like an event happening is also freedom of speech. So if you're going to call one side freedom of speech, that Milo's allowed to say whatever the hell he likes, then you have to call the other side freedom of speech too. You have to. That's the law. That's not questionable. That's not up to your interpretation. That is the law. That is how the law works, which is why we are also contacting the ACLU and Lambda Legal Foundations to get legal help to make sure, fine, there's no legal reason why this event cannot happen, but at least for the freedom of speech side, they cannot squash protests from happening. That is not legal in any way. So, for this whole case, it's kind of weird where Penn State said, you know what, we're going to host this event. We're going to invite this Milo guy to our campus to speak. We're going to put up posters throughout the entire school for him and put Pray the Gay Away posters right next to LGBTQ History Month posters, which is kind of on the nose, isn't it? And then we're not just going to do that, but we're going to say, oh, we don't endorse every word he says on stage, even though that's exactly what you do whenever you bring someone in as a speaker, no matter who they are. That's exactly what you do. You endorse every word they say on stage because you're the one who invited them, and it's your building this event is being held in. But then they're going to, at the same time of saying we don't endorse this, it was kind of weird. It's like they announced the event was going to happen. They also put out a press release saying, hey, we don't endorse what this guy says. And then at the same fucking time, they're also releasing a statement to all of their staff members to say, squash any kind of protest that happens and take down any signage that doesn't endorse Milo too. They're telling their staff to squash any kind of protest. They're telling their staff to just take down any kind of signage, anything about this. They're telling their staff to do this, which is kind of like a fucking endorsement. It's ridiculous. And this is what Penn State is willing to do. So local LGBTQ groups are already seeing a spike in students not feeling welcome on the campus for being LGBTQ, and those local groups are fearing. Sorry, my boyfriend's messaging me. And these local groups are fearing this event might lead to riots, which former events hosting Milo have done in the past, or worse, might lead to an LGBTQ student hurting themselves. And that's exactly why the Penn State University has released this statement saying that they're not condoning or endorsing every single word he says on stage. It's like, you're doing that just in case some kid kills themselves, and you're called into a courtroom for liability. That's why you're doing this, because your insurance couldn't take this kind of hit. I mean, keep in mind, this is the university that just years ago had a literal pedophile working as their head coach of their football team, and now they're saying, you know what, we're not endorsing this other guy who also condones pedophilia, apparently. It's kind of freaking on the nose for what your university is all about, Penn State. And it's kind of a shame that this is what you want your students to see. This is what you want your students to hear. It makes me think that we should just come right out and say, you know what, no student should go to Penn State because this is the kind of shit you're willing to pull, you know? And already many groups across Pennsylvania have come out and entirely and said that they fully condemn this event happening. The Pennsylvania Equality Project, which is another group I work for, says that we fully condemn this event and ask Penn State University to cancel the event entirely, to take down all Milo signage immediately, and allow LGBTQ students to practice their freedom of speech by posting signage and organizing events to support the community and condemn racist, homophobic, and horrible people like Milo who support suicide therapy. Allowing such an event to happen does not make their university look very welcoming, but endorsing suicide therapy by doing this event and hosting this event does not make their university look very welcoming, and it's just appalling what they are doing right now. at Penn State University on the main campus in University Park in Pennsylvania. It is just it is just appalling. There's no better word than this. You know, there's so much science and so many studies on how conversion therapy is damning to children out there, and it's just it just I have no words other than appalling. So let's see what you guys are saying in the comments here. You're saying it's very fucked up. Yeah, you're right. It's an endorsement of this guy's telling the truth that you can pray the gay away. First off, it's not something you have to pray about. It's not a sin to be gay. In no major religion of the world is it a sin to be gay. And I cannot understand it. To have these posters, especially directly under a poster about LGBTQ History Month, is just it's like the university is specifically calling out the LGBTQ community and saying, you know what, please go the fuck away from our campus. That is what they're saying here. Please get off our campus right now because we don't want you here. That is what Penn State is saying by doing this event. And that is especially what they're doing because think about all of the ways that they had a choice on this matter, right? They had the option of hosting, welcoming any speaker that they wanted to their campus. They chose Milo. They chose a racist, homophobic person who condones and regularly speaks on conversion therapy and suicide therapy and torture therapy. They welcome this guy who's bigoted, xenophobic, and they welcome this guy who is, against feminism, against women having the same rights as everyone else, and the same rights as men. They invite this guy who literally endorsed fucking pedophilia before and got fired from Breitbart News, the world's worst news organization. He got fired from because he endorsed pedophilia on their channel. And it's like, first up, so yeah, they had the option of inviting anyone that they wanted. They chose this guy out of all the people in the world. 7 billion people in the world, they chose Milo. So then they decided, well, rather than just having this event, we're going to host it on one of our in one of our buildings on campus, in one of our theaters. Number two, they had the option of having it off campus by this other organization of like, hey, if you want to host this event, that's fine, but you have to do it off campus at some other theater. That would be completely fine. According to the Penn State University, at least they wouldn't be involved at that point. It's not okay to host this event at all. But I mean, the fact that Penn State is endorsing it by having it out on their campus is kind of ridiculous. They also have the option of saying, well, we're not just going to have this event, but we're going to advertise it all throughout our campus. So they had that option, too, of not advertising it. They have it on their website. They have it all over their campus with these signs. And then they chose, you know what? We're going to not just do that, but we're going to have his signage right next to the LGBTQ History Month signage, which is kind of on the nose. So they had that option, too. And then they came out with a statement that was like, hey, we're going to not endorse what he says on stage, which is complete bullcrap because you're endorsing the event. So they had that option, too, for legal reasons. And it's like they had so many options here to make the right decision, and they chose the exact wrong decision every single time. It's kind of it's just appalling. I have no better words than that. Earn HD, thank you so much for your donation. We greatly appreciate that. By the way, it's great that we have that support and bringing LGBTQ education to people worldwide. Sadly, for this kind of event and this kind of news, sadly, we have to break this news every once in a while whenever really shitty people are doing really shitty things. Then How can you support torturing someone to force them to change who they are attracted to? Absolutely disgusting. Yes, you're completely right. Um, Penn State is located in America. It is illegal there. What's illegal there? Um, oh, wait. Sorry. Yeah, it's illegal eh, to stop freedom of speech. Like that. That's the thing. I mean, on the one hand, you have the university saying, "Well, it's freedom of speech that this guy is allowed to talk," and it's like, okay, this guy is allowed to talk. That is completely right. You are completely right on the nose there. Freedom of speech does offer Milo the freedom to speak. It does not, however, offer him the freedom of speech to speak on your campus using your microphones in your theater during an event that you are advertising for. That is that's where freedom of speech ends, and that's where an endorsement begins of a university. And so, it, yes, Milo has the freedom to speak on his own platforms wherever the hell else he wants to speak at. He doesn't have the freedom of speech to speak at Penn State University. Then you're right, the protesters that are saying, you know what, this is not a good event, and they're trying to. You have to understand two things about that. First off, there's people that are protesting the event. They're not allowed to. The University of Penn State is not allowed to squash any kind of peaceful protest by people to say that they don't support this event, and they're trying to do exactly that. And then they are not the LGBTQ groups that are local to that area are trying to get the message out that you are loved and you are accepted just the way you are, that you cannot pray the gay away, this will not work, they're trying to get that loving message out there, and then the University of Penn State is saying, you know what, we're going to squash that too. And they're not allowed to squash that message because that's freedom of speech. So it's like, you can't have it both ways here. You can't say one is freedom of speech and then the other is, oh, we don't want positive message of LGBTQ. And that sort of like hits the nail on the head, and the final nail in their coffin as a university is like, well, if you're going to say that you don't endorse Milo, right, but yet you're going to have his event on your campus with your microphones in your theater, and you're going to advertise his event for him, if you're going to put his poster right next to LGBTQ posters of our community, then you're going to say, you know what, those messages of hope and positivity from the LGBTQ community, let's not allow them. If you're doing this, it sort of hits the nail in the coffin of, yeah, you don't endorse what Milo says, but you completely believe in what he says. As the university, that's kind of sad. Ern HD says, sorry I don't have much, but I wanted to support what you're doing a bit. Thank you so much, Ern. That we deeply appreciate that. Glitch Master says they must think all the controversy is going to be a good thing. This silly idea of allowing fools with malintent to debate the validity of people's humanity. Yeah, this is not a debate, which, I mean, universities have hosted debates on things before. For instance, a thing I saw in the 2020 election cycle was a university invited a whole bunch of Republican gays and a whole bunch of Democratic gays to debate on stage, and it was actually a good debate. It was like, let's talk about this, and let's debate the issues of which candidate is going to be better. And I'm all for a debate like that. Whether you want to have a debate on your stage about any kind of political issue, like, I don't know, healthcare, economy, all these things. Yeah, that's fine to do, and that's completely under the blanket of freedom of speech. You should have that. You should have open and honest debate between people. And if you want to make that public, that's completely fine in my eyes, and according to the law too. I mean, like, why should you squash open and free debate? But when it comes to LGBTQ rights and human rights of, when it comes to like the whole like Black Lives Matter kind of movement, it's like that's not a debate. African Americans deserve the right to live and not get shot by the police. That's not a debate. That's not up for debate. Why do we think that's a political issue? Why do we think that should be up for debate here? No, it's literally people deserve the right to live and not get shot at disproportionate rates. You know, and then you have other things like women, women's rights of they should have the right to get paid the same amount as their male counterparts. They should have the right to do whatever the fuck they want to do as women, because you know what? They're freaking powerful as hell. And there's a lot of women I know that are stronger and smarter than a lot of guys I know. So it's like this whole women's rights debate is kind of fucked up in my head too, of why is this up for debate whether women should have the same rights as men? And then you have the thing of like LGBTQ rights is like, we shouldn't debate whether people have the right to live freely and happily just the way they are, to love whoever they love, and to be the gender they were always meant to be. Like, why is that a debate? Like, it's not a political issue. It's not. And it frustrates me how some people think it's a debate, but this is not a debate. Penn State is not having a debate. They're not welcoming Milo to say, you know what, you can be the right side of this thing, and someone else will be the left side of this thing. They're not saying that. There's no second speaker at this event to debate Milo on the stage. This is, put simply, just a speech by Milo for an hour or something to say anyone who comes to this event and is in the theater during this thing gets to hear Milo speak for an hour or so, and gets to hear how being gay is a choice and it's wrong and it's all these things that are completely false. That's what this is. This is just simply a speech. And it's appalling that Penn State would even consider hosting this event, let alone endorsing it like they are, let alone squashing any kind of protest, which is a clear violation of freedom of speech laws, according to the U.S. Constitution, and it's crazy. And the worst part is Penn State University gets federal funding too, so it's like, all right, how about some legislation be enacted that if you want to do this kind of shit on your campus, maybe you don't get that federal funding from now on, you know? How about that as a little change, you know? And if you want to have people on your campus speak to your students who have literally endorsed pedophilia before, how about we not give you any kind of federal funding from now on, you know? They must think and that's the thing, this controversy probably will be a big advertisement for them for this event, but it's like I'm hoping no one goes to this, but I know that some people will. Let's just see how much they're selling these tickets for. Milo, I just want to see just for a second what kind of ticket prices are going for right now. If you go to the university website, general admission is free, does not guarantee entry. Unlimited quantity, students, community members. VIP, guaranteed seating. Limited quantity, students only. VIP is $15. Super VIP for tickets, guarantee front section seating, $35. And royalty, guarantee front section seating, meet and greet with Milo, is $55. So they are going to make money on this event. And that is the sad part too. But yeah, this is what they're choosing to do, and it's kind of appalling. And I hope they realize they are going to lose people's interest and money. They're doing this to themselves. We have to understand is there's a camp, like Penn State University has their main campus, and they have satellite campuses all across Pennsylvania. So Penn State Schuylkill actually hosted an LGBTQ summit 2017 or something like that. They realized there wasn't a club for LGBTQ people in Schuylkill County, so which is a county in Pennsylvania. And so Penn State Schuylkill decided, and students there decided to host the event at Penn State Schuylkill campus. And so they had this big event there, which inevitably was canceled, but it turned into a club anyway, that met regularly. And so it was great to see that this thing actually happened. But the smaller satellite campuses have been LGBTQ friendly. The main campus has invited LGBTQ people to speak before to their classes, just like this event. They've hosted LGBTQ people and speakers before. But then this is a very weird turn for them to make on the main campus of, they can't even blame some satellite campus of, hey, the president of this satellite campus really messed up and allowed this event. Like, no, they can't do that. This is the main campus. This is the center of it all. So there's really no excuse for them and a way out of it, other than to cancel and completely retract everything they've done, and apologize to everyone, and send a message to all of their students saying, that being LGBTQ is completely valid and you should not have to try to change that. Anything short of that, it's going to just hurt their bottom line. There are going to be people who I'm sure there's going to be Republicans who send their kids there because of this event, but I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of people who don't go to their school anymore, or choose to go to a different school because of this alone. You're going to have students out there in high school who get offers from multiple universities or don't even apply to Penn State anymore because of this. And they can sort of hide it from their parents and say, I just chose this other university for no apparent reason, and it's like, no, I mean, the LGBTQ people will not be ever, will never be comfortable again on their campuses, and they know it. They know what move they just made, and it's time for them to lie in the bed that they made, Yeah, that's what I mean, debate. They're platforming Milo, who is going to argue that being queer is wrong and how he changed his orientation. Why anyone allowed to push any form of conversion therapy? Yeah. The problem is that homophobes will so often will soften their bigotry using language to make themselves seem reasonable. When you look beyond it through, though, it's still the same homophobic goals behind it all. Yes, you're right. There's nothing reasonable in such anti-human shit. Yes. Anytime you're on the side of history that's against human rights, sure, you get some press and you might get a couple bucks out of ticket prices, but you end up losing a lot more people than you gain, because Penn State has to realize 80% of non-LGBTQ Americans condemn conversion therapy. 80% of non-LGBTQ Americans support LGBTQ rights and freedoms and the Equality Act and the ban on conversion therapy. And so it's like, when you host an event like this, okay, so you're pissing off 11.7% of America by doing this event, and you're pissing off 80% of the rest of the world by doing this. So what you're left with is 20% of 88%. So it's like 20% of 80%. I mean, I think that's like 15% of Americans that you're left with that aren't going to be pissed off by you doing this. Just math in my head. Who would want to pay to see Milo unironically? I hope he gets trolled so hard if he ends up speaking. Me too. I hope that anti-LGBTQ people um, get protested as much as possible. But even if people go to this event for free, um, the university is going to look at it as, oh my God, this was such a successful event. Let's have him back. Let's have people like him back all the time. Even like I swear sometimes homophobes are so dull-brained. According to scientific data here, by the way, they are actually lower IQ than the rest of the world. But like I'm not even talking out of my ass. Like that's an actual study that was done. But homophobes a lot of times will see protesters at their event, and they're like, "Wow, look at all the people that came to see me." You know, I mean that happened all the time with people like Trump. It was like, "Hey, look at all the people that came out to see me speak." It's like you realize they're all booing you, right? Like that's not fans of yours. So if that theater is anywhere near full, they're going to see it as a success. Milo's going to see it as a success, and that's just whether they're all booing him off stage the entire time he speaks, which I completely love the idea of. And if Penn State says, you know what, you can't do that, it's like, well, you can't squash people's freedom of speech either here. And that's a violation of the U.S. Constitution. Also, so ACLU and Lambda Legal are all going to have fun with that one if they try to squash that kind of thing. But yeah, they'll probably see it as a success if it's full. One argued that every movie now has some LGBTQ character in it, and that we're in a minority. What they really want is to not see any LGBTQ people in anything. They want them to go back in the closet. That's completely true. And it's not that we have an LGBTQ character in everything nowadays. It's like people are perceiving it as, oh my God, it's everywhere. It's like, no, it's in a couple of shows. It's in a couple of movies now. It's not in every movie. It's not in every show. But you're seeing it for the first time ever, so you think, oh my God, this is all new. But if the shoe was on the other foot with that situation, and if you saw, for the first time ever, a straight couple kiss on screen, you'd be like, oh my God, this is everywhere. Like, it'd be the same situation. It's just, it's that you don't like gay people, so you don't want to see them anywhere. And you were happy with gay people just staying in the closet, staying out of the public eye. But the moment we dare to hold hands in public, oh no, that's what we're dealing with here in society right now. Is the homophobes are like, oh my God, they're everywhere. It's like, no, we've always been here, but now we're actually doing the same things as straight couples do that we should be allowed to do every single day. And now you're seeing it for the first time ever, and it's a shock to your system, The mindset is horrifying. Yes, it is. The day service I go to, that takes mental disabled people. I want to be with Carla, but people who are anti-LGBTQ accuse us of suppressing their points of view. What do you think of that? Well, this for situations like this, I'll get to the other half of your comment in a second. But for situations like this, I'm not trying to suppress what Milo says. I'm not trying to say, and no one is trying to say, that Milo shouldn't be allowed to speak. Milo can talk all he wants, right? He can get his own Facebook page and Twitter page and everywhere else. Like, if you want to speak that kind of stuff, first off, yeah, that's actually a perfect example. So let's say Milo gets his own Facebook page, and he starts speaking about this conversion therapy stuff, about all this other stuff. They have Milo has the full right to say whatever the hell he wants, right? But Facebook as a platform gets to decide whether they want that speech on their platform. right? That is how the law works. When you're on Facebook or any social media outlet, you no longer have the U.S. Constitution to fall back on. You no longer are under U.S. law anymore, because now you're under the rules and terms and service of Facebook or Twitter or YouTube. They set the rules for what we talk about, right? So, for instance, when we did our documentary on conversion therapy and we posted it to YouTube, even though our documentary was condemning conversion therapy and pointing out how horrible it is and how many kids commit suicide every year because of it, even though that was all true, right underneath our documentary, we had a little disclaimer from the Trevor Project of conversion therapy is the practice of trying to change someone's sexual orientation and gender identity, and it's been proven to push kids to suicide. Like, that little disclaimer was put under our documentary by YouTube, and that disclaimer was from the Trevor Project, a fantastic LGBTQ rights organization that helps end suicide and helps with therapy for kids out there. They're a fantastic organization that we've actually worked with multiple times on our show here to bring you the content that we bring. So we work with them all the time, and they're fantastic. But still, under our documentary, we had that disclaimer because YouTube decided. Sorry. Because YouTube decided they don't want that on their platform. They don't want positive messages of conversion therapy on their platform, right? They chose this as an organization. So as soon as this lag clears up a bit here, sorry about that. But when you're on social media, they get to determine what is on their platform and what kind of disclaimers are underneath that message on their platform. And so you have the same situation with Penn State where, yeah, Milo's allowed to talk however he wants, but Penn State University gets to decide whether or not they want that message on their platform in their campus. That's the difference. That's where the separation of, here's what the whole thing about there's the difference between the U.S. Constitution rights and the rules you sign up for when you enter their university. They're different rules. So they get to decide whether Milo should be allowed to speak at their event, you know? So there's number one, to your point. The second point of that is, let's say you had an anti-LGBTQ message. First off, again, I don't believe I should be able to suppress what they say, but at the same time, you have to understand the difference in their message. So while, yes, they should be allowed free speech, freedom of speech stops when you punch someone or punch your microphone, right? So this has been explained in the U.S. Supreme Court many, many times of you are allowed by freedom of speech to punch the air, right? You're allowed to swing your fist. The moment that fist hits someone else's face, that means that you are hurting someone else by your actions. And so that is when the court no longer allows you to say it was freedom of speech, right? Because, I mean, well, when you kill someone, it's not like, oh, I had the freedom of speech, I could have killed them. Like, no, that's not the way it works, okay? Like, there are limits to your freedom here, okay? You can't yell fire in a crowded theater. You can't yell 911 when there's no emergency. You can't you can't do these things, right? And so there are limits to freedom of speech. But that being said, we know the science behind it. We know the statistics. We know the data. When you endorse conversion therapy, when you push conversion therapy, it leads to greater risk of people committing suicide. It leads to other people's harm. And so that is where we have to draw the line and say, you know what? you're allowed freedom of speech in this country and so on, but at the same time, you can't actively hurt someone else. And so you can spew whatever hatred you want, but when that hatred hurts some child out there, that's when you're no longer allowed to do that. And that's exactly what anti-LGBTQ people are doing right now. They're endorsing conversion therapy. They're saying that it's a sin. They're saying that God hates them. We're doing 2 episodes right now on arguing anti-LGBTQ arguments, right? And throughout that entire thing, I mean, just some of the, let me just read you some of the messages that we've gotten from our fans of what people have done to them, what people have said to them. I just want to get to the results here of that little survey. But some of the phrases that our audience has heard, not even just on a world scale, but from our audience alone, people have heard, "You're too young to know. It's a choice to be LGBT. It's a sin to be gay or trans," which is clearly not. Falling in love is a necessity, so it's impossible to be asexual. Being trans is disrespecting God. Being bi is done for attention. The human brain can only feel attraction to one person, so being pansexual is impossible. Being lesbian isn't real. Being lesbian is a political movement. You're lesbian because you're angry at men. You're born the gender you were always meant to be. It's just a phase. Being non-binary isn't real. You haven't found the right person yet, so you can't be asexual. Or you haven't found the right man yet, so you can't be straight. You can't be gay. You know, being pansexual just makes the community look bad. You're a monster. Literally, is what 32 people said that that they were told by homophobic people. Of you're a monster. They were asked, were you abused as a child because you're LGBTQ now? Have you talked to a therapist yet about conversion therapy? 32 people also said that. That's not what God wants for you. God hates you. Why do you want to show off your sexuality? That's private. You just want attention. I've always known you as your dead name and dead pronouns, so I'll just keep calling you those instead. That doesn't make up enough of the being LGBT doesn't make up enough of the population to count. How can you be this when you said you were that earlier? You said you were straight earlier, so how can you be gay now? There are too many genders now. You're not bisexual. You'll figure it out in a few years. Being demi-romantic or demisexual people aren't real because they aren't being murdered in the street. 6 people said that, by the way, that demisexuality and demi-romantic isn't valid according to straight people because we aren't being murdered in the street, apparently. Being ace is being a coward, according to these people. Pick a side for bisexual people. People say to them, I just don't agree with being LGBT. Being trans is a mental illness, which it is clearly not. Being poly is just an excuse to cheat on your partner. No, it's not. You just want to corrupt children. You're a pedophile. I'm okay with people being gay, just don't do it in public. Choose to misgender people because they don't want to disrespect the name your parents gave you. Being bisexual is desperate. How can you be loyal if you're bisexual? It wasn't like this when I grew up, so it's not like this now. It's unnatural. You can be gay, just don't act on it. You can't force me to believe you're a girl or boy for trans people. 2 men can't have children together, which proves it's not what God intended. Why should we accept people who don't accept themselves? All of these messages are things that we hear from homophobic, transphobic, aphobic, and biphobic people all the time. There's a difference in freedom of speech here. Freedom of speech, you can say all you want to. Like, things like, oh, I don't like this person. I don't like that person. You can say that all you want to. I don't give a fuck. The moment that fist hits someone else's face, then I care. Then the law steps in to protect that other person. And you know what? All of those messages I just read, which came from our audience out there, all of those messages are a punch in the face to LGBT people. It is hurting our community. And so when people say that we're trying to squash or silence the message of anti-LGBT people, you're darn right we are, because their message is hateful. Their message is pushing people to suicide. Their message is causing kids to choose not to come out until later in life. Their message is causing people not to be happy with themselves on the inside. Their message is just harmful to everyone who hears it. I mean, there's a clear difference between freedom of speech and freedom to hurt people. There is no law in America or any country that gives you the freedom to hurt other people. But that is what Penn State is doing. That is what Penn State is endorsing. Are there similar documentaries on streaming services such as Netflix you'd recommend? There is let me see, Netflix documentaries. I just watched a great documentary on Netflix on this, actually. Let me get to it here. Camera display. Pray Away. Fantastic documentary on this entire thing. Pray Away is a fantastic documentary on conversion therapy. It's very similar to our documentary on our channel called Stealing Souls documentary. Just to let you know, both are very, very similar messages, but Pray Away is a little bit bigger budget than we had. So I very much recommend that one. I don't know about Amazon Prime or Hulu because I don't own them, but yeah. What can we do to help this situation, both in the U.S. and worldwide, like me? So, I mean, there are petitions out there by those local LGBTQ organizations to cancel this event. Petition. Find it now. It's gained 2,600 signatures out of its 5,000 goal so far. But where is it actually at? I can't actually find it. If we find it, we'll definitely share it. But it's so far it's doing pretty well. But the thing is will it actually work? Because the university has already put out their statements on this of like we're not endorsing him, but we're having him at our fucking place. So they're already setting themselves up for plausible deniability in court afterwards. But yeah, sadly, the best thing to do is just raise awareness of the situation and spread the message of what they're doing. Don't go to Penn State University. This is what they're willing to endorse and have at their campus. Tell everyone you know not to go to Penn State University. It's just a horrible, horrible place doing this kind of thing. So that's what we can do. Like you can do all the change.org petitions you want. First off, they're pretty adamant they're going to do this event anyway. You can try to show up in person if you live close to Penn State main campus on November 3rd at 8 p.m. On their campus to actually protest this event. But if you really want to send this message, then let's hurt their bottom line. Let's take money out of their fucking pockets as a university, and let's see how they handle students leaving their campus. That's how we actually hurt them. That's how we actually bring change. Like I know we're not supposed to really say oh, go after the money here, but that's how they're going to change things. They will not change things if money's still coming in. So that's sort of where we have to go with this story, unfortunately. A change.org petition doesn't actually hurt them. It's it's a slap on the wrist. It's in our public image. But if students start leaving their campus, or if they start seeing a decline in memberships and students coming in, then they're going to care. So just help spread awareness of the situation and get the word out there, because we are local news press agencies brought it to us. A TikTok account actually brought it to us, but Pennsylvania Equality Project was the largest group to actually cover this until basically we just found out about it this morning. Pennsylvania Equality Project covered it a couple hours ago. I'm covering it here now, which means Pennsylvania Equality Project and our group here at Powered Rainbows, we are the largest organizations that have covered this so far. We're definitely trying to get awareness out there to the larger LGBTQ rights groups like ACLU, Lambda Legal, to LGBTQ Nation, all sorts of magazines out there and news organizations. We're trying to get the word out to them because this needs awareness more than anything. Today, unfortunately, Italian Parliament decided to stop law proposal to include homophobia to aggravating factors of aggressions. Okay, wow. It's sad people out there still think that it's the 1930s. That's very true. My cousins are coming over today, so my brother and to my brother's birthday, but my cousins are very homophobic, so this will be a blast. Yeah, sounds like it. I just try to be yourself no matter what, and don't care what they say. Know that you're loved and supported here on our channel and many places by millions and millions of people worldwide, and your cousin's homophobia doesn't really matter in the scheme of things. You're so awesome. Thank you so much for what you do. I love your channel. Oh, thank you so much. Worse, what they say encourages others to feel the same way and say the same things. It propagates a dangerous idea about LGBT people. It emboldens hate. That's on the nose. I love that comment. Thank you for the recommendation. I apologize. I particularly upset you with my question. I keep hearing that anti-LGBTQ argument, and I've always wondered how to counter it. We're going to cover all of the debates in future episodes in December. We're coming out with 2 episodes on how to debate anti-LGBTQ arguments. Those episodes, well, it's actually one giant topic, but we had to split it in 2 different parts because it's such a big topic to cover. But look for those episodes coming soon on our channel. We're recording one of them today, actually. Because actually it's October 27th, and we're already recording December 10th's episode, which is kind of cool. Trapped, the Alex Cooper story is another good movie about how they treat people in conversion therapy. There's another good recommendation for you. Thank you, Darius, for the recommendation there. Promoting conversion therapy is disgusting. You're completely right there. Do you think if we create an LGBTQ club for those in primary school, will it decrease the hate? Yes. Let me get to a report here. Trevor Project. .org. Wonderful report that can give you the actual science on this. Okay, well, Resource Center. There we go. Da-da-da. I like how their Trevor Project is literally changing their website every single day on me because I'm doing a lot of research lately, and they're just trying to change it every single day. Um, let me see. Sorry. Um, hmm. Community. But yeah, it's definitely when you go to school for these. You know what? Let me just go to my script I worked on this past weekend. Um, yeah. Sorry, takes us a second to get these resources. Um, oh man, my apologies to the audience waiting out there. Um, yeah. So hold on. Let me get to the resource center here, and we'll go through this together. This Trevor Project website. I really want to get this resource for you. Um, Anxiety, understanding gender identities, community. Again, like they literally changed this uh, within the past day. So that's fun. But yeah. Well, I mean, conversion therapy is definitely negatively impacting the health of our youth. Um, under identity, is it under here? I'm just gonna keep clicking on things until I find it. But it's a great resource. Um, uh, anyway, so the resources for LGBTQ. Oh, safer spaces in schools. Is this it? Ah, freak. No, it's not. All right. Coming out handbook. But no, statistically speaking, um, starting an LGBTQ club in your school does actually help students across your school. Talking about let's see. So anyway, yeah, statistically, it's a. Let me get to our scripts. Actually, it's just a lot easier here. Citations. All right, here we go. Sorry, it took me a while. Here we go. All right, so this is what happens in schools across at least America. 65% of LGBTQ middle schoolers experience bullying. 49% experience it in high school. 61% of transgender non-binary individuals and 45% of cisgender people in the LGBTQ community experience bullying throughout middle and high school. The proportion of them who attempted suicide in the past year across bullying status, middle school, 29% were bullied, and 12% were not bullied. So these kind of numbers tell a lot as well. But the one that I want to point out here is proportion of LGBTQ youth who were bullied in schools that were LGBTQ affirming compared to those that were not. So an affirming school is in yellow and an unaffirming school is in blue. So affirming means you have an LGBTQ club in your school, you have teachers who use the proper pronouns and names to address trans people. You have teachers who support being LGBTQ and accept you for being gay, bisexual, pansexual, transgender, queer, questioning, and so on, asexual and aromantic. You have teachers who support all that and are educated on dealing with those situations. Your school allows trans people to use the appropriate restrooms and allows trans people to be on the appropriate sports teams, matching their gender identity to the sport they play. All that kind of stuff is an affirming school. An unaffirming school means you don't care about LGBT people at all. So in middle schools, 58% of kids in their school, LGBT people, were bullied in school in an affirming school, but 69% were bullied in school in an unaffirming school. So that means you have 11% more of students who are bullied because your school is not accepting in middle school. In high school, that disparity is like 10%. In the transgender and non-binary category, you have 10% more students that are bullied in unaffirming schools. In cisgender LGBT people, LGBTQ people, you have another 10% disparity there. So basically in all of these categories, if your school is unaffirming, if you don't have an LGBTQ club in school, that means you're going to see a 10% more of your students are going to get bullied in your school because you don't have that club, that affirming space for them. And as we've already seen with these two other statistics, the more bullying that happens, the more LGBTQ people attempt suicide. And so this is directly linked to one another. So what you're doing by having an affirming space for LGBT people in your school, by having an LGBTQ club, what's really happening there is you are saving lives and you are actually reducing the risk of people committing suicide or attempting it. So these are all directly linked to each other. This chart and this chart are directly linked to one another. So yeah, definitely starting an affirming space in an LGBTQ club in your school is really, really helpful, way more than you know. I really wanted to get to those statistics. I really wanted to get those statistics because it's sort of really important you know the actual numbers on it. I didn't memorize those numbers yet. There's a lot of Trevor Product statistics I've memorized over the years, but that's a new report that just came out, so it's kind of fresh in my brain. Sorry it took me a minute to get to that, by the way. But that is what's been happening, and that is what Penn State did. They just created a non-safe place for LGBT people to be at in their college. And so they just put their students at more risk of suicide and way more risk of hate crimes and bullying. And they seem to not care because it's, hey, Milo's going to bring in that moolah when they buy the tickets. You know, like they just don't fucking care. So we're calling on them to cancel the event immediately, send out a formal apology to all of their students in an email. We're asking them to take down all Milo signage immediately, and we're asking them to, you know, apologize to the greater LGBTQ community in the area for even thinking about doing this event, and never do it again. Never do something like this ever, ever, ever again. Anyway, that will be our episode today. I'm sorry for taking your time to discuss something so horrible, but we will say, yeah, it's weird. Actually, in the documentary that we did a couple months ago, we covered how conversion therapy was started in Germany way, way back in the day. And now Germany, just last year in 2020, has officially banned all forms of conversion therapy in their whole country. So it's like the people who started the thing have now banned the thing because they realize how horrible it is. And it's like, why is America so slow on this? You know? Oh, wait, Congress doesn't want to act because there's way too many Republicans that think conversion therapy is good because they're in the pockets of churches across the country, too. So, yay. Welcome to America, people. Land of the free, home of the brave, but we're not given all the freedoms in the world. So yeah, there's that. Welcome to Penn State University, where they don't endorse anti-gay messages, but they also will advertise them like crazy because, hey, we like Milo, apparently. Yeah, fuck Milo. So anyway, have a great day, everyone, and don't forget to like this video, comment down below your LGBTQ friendly thoughts, hit that rainbow subscribe button so you don't miss out on new episodes of our show, and share this story with everyone you possibly know. Please get the message out there. Please tell people never to fucking go to Penn State University anymore. Don't support them because they're absolutely atrocious of an organization for doing this, even for remotely endorsing this kind of rhetoric. But as always, I'm your host, Professor Pride. Have a good day, everyone, and bye for now.